The one thing you can't say if you like your air gunning is there is never anything new coming out. Because, yet again, this week's programme is a new gun. This time from Air Venturi and Springfield Armory. It is the XDe. Hello and welcome to AAR and Air, and yes, believe it or not, it's another new pistol to review. I have so many guns in the pipeline to review and compare, but the manufacturers just keep bringing out new guns, and Vector keep getting hold of them for me. So here we go with this budget BB belter. As always, let's start with the Walkaround, shall we? It is a modern style, all black, quite weighty handful with an overall length of 200mm or around 8 inches. It tops the scale at about 895 grams, which is a gnat's under £2. It is quite slimline overall, but this slim feel is transferred into the grip, which does feel a little strange at first. But it is by no means uncomfortable, and you very quickly become accustomed to it. It has a really nice palm to trigger finger distance, which can sometimes be a bit of a problem for me on short grip guns and my long piano fingers. The slide is metal, and yes, it is blowback, and not only has a lock open after last shot, which is a real bonus, but it is also field strippable too, which on a low cost budget price pistol is good going if you ask me. On the top of this slide is an open fibre optic front sight in red, which is matched up with a non-adjustable double white dot rear sight. These are very clear, even for my eyesight. There are several tasteful embossed logos on the side of the XDe and Springfield Armory logos as well, but not bright and white and overly bold. One of the acid tests on these lower priced pistols is if the slide rattles and makes the gun feel cheap. Well, no such rattles to be found on this one. I would guess you would get more rattles from a genuine firearm, to be honest. The bottom half is polymer based, as you would expect from a modern sidearm. The front of this has a rail on the bottom for the usual add-ons. The main body has several buttons and latches on this gun, and all are fully serviceable and actually work. They're not just for show. The first one, moving back from the front, is the field stripping lever. This needs the rear part lifting and turning through 180 degrees, and the top slide will simply slide away until it all detaches. Naturally, refitting is quite simply the reverse of that. And I must say, this is one of the first pistols I've been able to pick it up and complete that task first time. It really is that simple on this one. The next catch, moving back, is the release for the lock open, and to the rear is the safety, which is a lift for safe and drop for fire, and the red dot is then revealed. This is on both left and right hand side, and does have a click to it, but could possibly benefit from being a little stiffer and more defined. But that's only my opinion, and certainly not a real deal breaker. To the rear is a rather fancy hammer, which is super smooth and has a rather nice, tastefully done XDe emblem on the top. As I said, the grip is slim, but it is both nicely stippled and nicely embossed, and still surprisingly comfortable. The magazine release operates from either side when you press the drop out. The trigger is broad, and although nicely positioned for me and not at all overly heavy, it is quite a long pull. One strange thing for me is the underside of the trigger guard. Up until now, the logos and embossed writing has been tastefully done. The writing on the underside of the trigger guard, on the other hand, is quite white, in your face and somewhat unnecessary. And I would find myself removing this or carefully covering it over. Not a big job. Let's get this loaded up, shall we, and find out what power it's kicking out, and then onto the target work. Firstly, press the magazine release button. The magazine will spring out. Then press the bottom of the magazine and the cover will slide forward to reveal the hex thread. Drop in your 12 grams CO2 and then tighten with the supplied hex key. Once done, then return the bottom cover. From there, it's time to load up with 18 rounds of BBs. Pull down the spring using the nail-ripping top latch. Pull this all the way down to the bottom and lock it in place. The BBs of your choice are then dropped into the top individually. Once full, return the spring on the bottom and then return the full magazine to the bottom of the gun. And you're all ready to go. Firstly then, let's get this over to the Chrono as promised. I loaded it up with the standard steel BBs, which are 5.37 grains, and saw the actual 380 FPS, which is stated on the box. This is around 1.7 foot-pounds or 2.34 joules. This was achieved pretty comfortably on a fairly standard English wet summer's day. So let's get this out on the range and see what it's like to shoot and what the accuracy is like. Bearing in mind this is not intended as a target gun in any real sense of the word. 10 metres outdoors. Here goes. Well, that's more than accurate enough for a spot of plinking in the back garden, or if you have an indoor facility out at that kind of distance. It does have a really good blowback feel to it, with a great kickback. It is one of those pistols that you feel as though you're involved in the whole experience, with the kickback, feel of power and the ability to take out a glut of tin cans in semi-automatic mode. I tried some lead BBs, but it wasn't totally happy with those. I also tried the Dust Devils, and I would say it was a similar story. It would shoot them, but it wasn't overly thrilled to be doing so. I would suggest you stick to the steel BBs with this one. Now, I mentioned at the start of this review that this was a budget BB belter. Well, the price on this one is actually around the £130 UK figure, and that makes this pretty good value for money with this level of quality and functionality. The style and look is always very personal. I like the look and I do like the feel and fit. The accuracy is more than good enough for its intended use. The trigger at £4 pull weight is not exactly heavy, and the long pull is something you can soon get used to. I do like this, and at this price I can see it being quite popular with the budget end of the shooters, who will be getting a lot for their money. Hopefully you've enjoyed this week's review. If you have, please give us the old thumbs up, subscribe, share, click the alarm bell, and don't forget all this lot. And as always, a thank you to Mrs. AAR for managing the merchandise and the AAR website. And of course, thank you to Vector Air for getting hold of this XDE for me to enjoy and review. And finally, of course, thank you for watching. Stay safe and shoot safe. And I'll be back next week, probably with something else new to review. Bye for now.